The dispute between India and Pakistan for the territory of Jammu and Kashmir goes back to the year 1947, when after a ceasefire established in 2003, tension began to rise again between the two nations on February 2019. On August 5, 2019, Indian Article 370 was revoked, following by a 2013 internet shutdown on Indian-controlled Kashmir. Having this in mind, the next question has been formulated. To what extent does the Indian government benefit from shutting down internet and censoring media information in the state of Jammu and Kashmir? Now, briefly, this study case is considered to be a global political challenge due to the number of actors involved. Some international actors have been involved are the United Nations and its Security Council that have actually tried to resolve multiple times the territorial conflict. Other international actors are multinational corporations such as Facebook, Twitter, and Google that work inside Indian territory. Onto a social scope, this situation involves security regarding privacy and information access to citizens, specifically Kashmiris. Onto political and economic views, India has not been quite benefited from public view due to unfollowing of its national law, international law, and even human rights. And as for economic views, there has been great economic losses from part of India due to trying to control and shut down internet on various times. Now, the social aspect seems to be the one big benefit from Indian government, that authorities gaining control over what kind of information goes in and out of the territory, and silencing voices of Kashmirians seems to be the number one priority and overall focus of these actions. Now, internet control made by Indian government goes back for the year 2010, but in 2017 and 2018, a number of internet shutdowns in the territory of Kashmir have actually risen. Authorities have suspended at least 80 times internet during 2017 and about 130 times in 2019. In this same year, India had 67% of the world's total internet shutdowns, where 47% of these were only in the state of Kashmir. Now, government has begun and has actually been noticed to increase internet shutdowns where any gunfight and armed force exchange and conflict has actually happened on the state of Jammu and Kashmir. And here, sovereignty seems to be presented by gaining full control of internet on the state and on the territory, but this has been an enriched topic due to the activity of multinational corporations in India. Now, India's constitution explicitly recalls for securing to all its citizens liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship, where the concept of liberty is directly related to global politics concept. And as for human rights, liberty and human rights have actually been kind of ignored onto the focus of monitoring and control of information flow in Kashmir. Just like Article 19 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights suggests, of freedom of expression, freedom to seek and receive and impart information to any media and regardless of frontiers. Now, under the Indian Constitution, Article 370 guaranteed the state of Kashmir controlled by India some sort of autonomy. However, on August 5, 2019, this article was revoked by Indian authorities, meaning that this part of Kashmir will now have to abide to Indian constitution. Now, it could be thought and even argued that Indian authorities revoked this article into the aiming of having full jurisdiction and control of internet. Now, among the information being censored by central Indian government, YouTube videos and chat applications seem to be on the rise. According to Forbes, in 2019, the main strategy is to alter encryption of private messages, compromising user privacy and into the argument of the government for going into full-on internet transparency. However, companies like Facebook have actually stood up against these requests relying on private private policy of the user. Now, Indian authorities have long argued that the intention of internet being controlled by the state is to have full-on internet transparency and guaranteeing user security. However, India's Supreme Court has criticized shutdowns and argued in favor of them being unconstitutional and asked for policy review and reconsideration of their actions. Now, according to the New York Times, government has been worried of social media networks to be a threat to democracy, where the imposing of regulations has been presented with the aim to stop a flow of fake news and false information. And now, South Asia's director for Human Rights Watch has actually mentioned that the lack of transparency and failure to explain these shutdowns only furthers the perception that they are meant to suppress nonviolent reporting and criticism of the government, making reference again to the threat of democracy of India. Now, additionally, on economic view, according to Ravidran and Levernite, on 2018, India lost about $104 million under the strategies of controlling manipulation of internet. Now, Kashmirians have been the most vulnerable population on this situation, having misconnection to work, families, and students being unable to reach out to academic sources that guarantee their education. And Kashmirians have only been allowed to access a slow 2 gigabyte internet, and they are guaranteed access to just a certain amount of websites that have actually been approved by the government. Now, Kashmir is a highly militarized zone, and the increase of shutdowns has been proved by many international newspapers that it is because of trying to protect and to avoid spilling information going out of the territory about militarized mobilizations and fire going up in zone, sometimes against Kashmirians. Now, concluding, actions regarding internet censorship and shutdown on Jammu and Kashmir have brought great economic losses of $100 million. And despite government's statements regarding promoting internet transparency and security to the user, their actions reflect to be on following in national and international law as well as human rights. Now, there is a focus on the censoring of videos and the encryption of private messages on that Kashmirians have been facing on their daily lives. This actually threatens to their security and their privacy, as for their voices are being suppressed by a government that calls itself to be a democratic. And briefly, and going back into our research question, Indian government has not been gaining very much from political and economic aspects of the situation, but they have been actually been gaining something from the social aspects of this situation, where they're getting benefited by getting complete control of internet and information flow in the state of Jammu and Kashmir, going from the inside to the outside and from the outside to the inside, controlling as well the image of the state, the population, and the overall situation that is going with the conflict of the territorial dispute of Jammu and Kashmir, trying to make it seem that the situation is not as horrible as it is, considering that this is a highly militarized and nuclear militarized zone. Thank you very much.